Okay, welcome everybody. We're excited that you could join us. Today is August 2nd, Tuesday. We're trying to do better about doing the first and the third Tuesday of every month, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, just so that everybody can plan on it. I'm really excited about our topic tonight. I gotta find my book here. Just to back up a little bit, welcome to anyone who is new or who is checking out 5-Star for the first time. We're excited that you can be on live. I know that summers get busy with schedules and traveling, and so we're really excited that you're able to be on live. And if you're listening to the recording, that's awesome too. Last week I couldn't be on live, and so I listened to the recording later and I loved it. I loved all the discussion that happened last week. So I'm excited to move forward with what we've been talking about. Be your future self now. And we might, I know we've said this in the past, but we might just have a quick meeting tonight, just because I know everyone is busy. So we're actually just going to be talking about one of the chapters, and it's called, we're going to be going over threat number 3. Being unaware of your environment creates a random evolution. And I loved this chapter. At first, I thought he was going to talk about some of the obvious things about environment, like our kitchen or basically what surrounds us, but he went a little bit deeper into that. And so I'm going to open up. I'm actually going to, okay, I'm going to try and mute everyone here. If everyone could mute themselves, that would be awesome. Okay. Anyway, he goes a little bit deeper with the actual environment and how it has an impact on us. And it just got me thinking deeper on how we can apply this to our journey as far as overcoming sugar and processed food addiction and improving our health. So I did create a PowerPoint. Brittany, did you want to say anything before I go any further?
No, I'll chime in as we go.
Okay. Get excited for the PowerPoint. Okay. And honestly, there's only like 4 slides, but I just wanted to have some talking points here. Okay. I am trying to figure out how I do this. Okay. So first he starts off talking about how social influences, is considered our environment and how that's going to influence our behavior. And so I'll share this quote that he shares. It says, just like atoms bouncing off each other, our social interactions are constantly shaping who we are and what we do. And just as a little science review, the atoms are like the most basic fundamental unit of matter, as far as like chemistry goes, solid, liquid, gas, plasma. And all of those states are constantly changing. And so I like how he compares that to our social interactions. Our interactions with other people are going to influence our evolution and shape who we are and what we do. So I did share a little bit a picture so that you can remember what that was. So I got thinking about this, and it's kind of hard as far as like our social interactions when it comes to food, because I mean, when we're first making a change, you can't just like cut off everyone who is around you and automatically surround yourself with all these healthy people. I mean, obviously it's awesome that we're in this group, surrounding ourselves by others that share the same belief that, okay, what I'm doing isn't working. I need to be around others who can help me to pursue getting rid of sugar and processed foods out of my life. But, you know, like, what about our families? What about spouses? Like, what can we do in those situations while we're still changing our environment as far as like what types of food are in our kitchens and whatnot. So that just got me thinking of different ideas, like how to approach that. And like, I mean, I'll just talk about my own experience, and then I'd love for you guys to share any insight that you have with that, and how we can gain the support of others without like pushing on our new lifestyle, like just showing up for ourselves in a way that we know is going to best help us, serve us, but also gaining support of those around us who don't necessarily, or who aren't ready to eat the same way that we do. So for me in the beginning, I started this 4 years ago on August 1st, 2018. And I had just reached a point where I'm like, okay, obviously what I'm doing isn't working. We're like 8 months in. I haven't made a ton of progress. I'm sick of being, you know, the size that I am as far as clothes. Nothing was fitting in my closet. And so I really dove in. But in the beginning, it's not like I was going to convince my kids to eat a certain way, or even like my spouse to eat a certain way. I had a 1-year-old baby, and I remember when I tried to stop snacking, that was hard for me because I was like continually feeding him. So a lot of it had to be the self conversation that you guys talked about at the end of the last call, of just creating this new habit, no matter how uncomfortable it was. Like, I just had to show up for myself at that point before I expected others around me to get on board. But I was able to have a conversation with my husband and just say, hey, this is really what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. And I was able to get his support. And then I also had the support of others who were helping me with that process, other people that were actually in my support group as far as accountability group. And that was huge for me. I reached out and I asked one of our clients who's doing really well, and she's actually had a frustrating start because she deals with thyroid issues, hormone issues, and it's kind of been trial and error with her nutrition plan. And she's finally doing something that's working. And so I asked her, I'm like, I was hoping she could be on the call, but she had something else, which I totally get. So I asked her for her insight. And so I was just going to share that with you. She just told me things that have helped me: having a good support system. She also said, hire a good coach, which actually isn't me. It's Christy. I recommended her to Christy because I knew that I know my limitations, and that Christy would be a good fit for her. So she said hiring a good supportive coach within 5 stars made me want to work harder, which I thought was awesome. And then this was something that she shared. She said, don't listen to the pessimists. No matter what you do, they will have an opinion. So let them have their opinion while you become healthier and stronger. They'll still have their opinion. So I thought that was really good. Brittany, do you have some thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, I think Priscilla, I think it was you and I talking about this, but I think sometimes we get so nervous that everyone's like looking at us, but really most people don't even pay any attention to what you're doing, So if you are in a social setting, like just do you, and 9 times out of 10, no one's going to even say anything to you. And if they do, they're like the annoying family member who always says something about anything. And so you just say, yeah, and then walk away, So I think that you have to have confidence in what you're doing and own it, and as you own it and as you start feeling better, that confidence is slowly going to grow and grow and grow. But I think it's always just good to be like, they're probably not even caring what you're doing. So just do it,
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up because that was my big, I guess, challenge in the beginning was like going to a social setting and thinking, what is everyone thinking? But really, they don't care. They're like into their, I don't know. I don't sit there and look at everyone else's food. So why would they be looking at what I'm eating? So yeah, I'm glad that you pointed that out. Does anyone else have, I'm trying to figure out this screen share, but also be able to see people. So Brittany, you're gonna have to tell me if someone puts something in the chat. Um, and I might call on a couple people because I am. So Scarlett, we heard from you last week. I know that you have really been working on refocusing. What have you noticed or what would you like to share about as far as like support to be able to hop back in and continue your health journey? Are you in a place where you can unmute yourself?
I can, but I'm driving, so I can't touch
Oh,
the thing. But so for me, it was contacting my coach again, letting her know like what my focus was, which my coach is Katie. And what my plan was I really wanted to lose the rest of my like goal weight, like my final 10, 15-ish pounds. And just telling my husband, changing up our habits, stop buying the things that broke my habits that I was already doing really well, because my family eventually, because I've been doing it since January, have jumped on board. So they fell off board as well. So just changing, going back to our eating and drinking that water, making sure we take our daily walks, like just trying to focus and having his support and the kids have really helped, like getting back on board. And I thought it would be a little harder, but it's not. It's a lot easier. So that was nice.
yeah, that's awesome that you already like established those habits and then it was just a matter of like inviting them to support you again. And I know with kids, it's you weren't like you didn't have like a sit down conversation because your kids are younger, but
Mhm.
that's awesome that they all have been supporting you.
I think what it was that short little period of time, we got to feel how we felt prior to eating better. And we don't want to feel that way anymore. Like the yuckiness, the tiredness, the sluggishness, like when we want to be active and we don't really have that motivation. And like, we're like, no more. We don't want to do this anymore. It's not fun. Cause it fluctuates, like it's never consistent. Like when we eat better and we drink our water and we're getting those steps in, we have that consistency,
Mhm.
of clean energy.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up as far as like how being healthy is fun because I've had conversations with clients in the past and even myself where I've created this identity that I need to be eating or making food like sugar food, junk food in order to be having fun. And this is where I look to Brittany and I also look to Christy as far as like influencers. um, that look at how much fun they're having. If you ever, if you follow them on social media or whatever, like being active and being able to move and feel good, that's really what fun is. So I don't know where we've gotten the message. Well, I do know we have so much advertising out there, but that we can't have fun without junk food.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, like for kids, one of the things that most kids love is like colors and rainbows and I mean that's fruit and vegetables, right? Like you can do, I remember I threw a rainbow party for Indy like a little over a year ago and it was so fun because everything I made like a rainbow out of fruits and then we made veggie skewers that were rainbows and it's just like I think that I mean, yeah, they can have treats once in a while, but the idea that kids need treats every single day is like crazy to me. But one fun thing too is that I posted on our 5-star page is like popsicles, like making popsicles with them that are healthy. And, I think that you can really have a lot of fun. You just have to change your story around it. like we talked about last week, and don't continue to hang out with the people that are always dogging on you for what you're doing. Like that's the part too that drives me nuts. It's like, this is the way that I've chosen to enjoy my life, and I want to be around people who are positive. I don't care if you do what I do, but just don't like always say comments about what I do, you know? And so I think that that's the fun part too, is as you are an example to people and just hold your healthy boundaries, those people will come on board and support you, or, you know, they'll kind of fall out of your circle of influence. But when it's a spouse, I understand that it's hard. But I think, Katie, I liked how you said you sat down with Gary and had that conversation. And I think that communication is key there. Just like, hey, this is something that's really important to me, and I want to do it, and give it a time frame. You know, that's why we do 12-week chunks. Like, hey, I'm going to try this for 12 weeks. I want to make this investment in myself. And, you know, can you support me in this? I think that that's important. And if you have older kids, you know, I've even talked to Indy about that. We sit down as a family and we say, okay, this week we're going to really work hard about, you know, eating more vegetables. And then I'll have her help me like go to the store and pick out which ones we should try. And do you know what I mean? So just like involving your kids is doable as well. Even if they are young, I think you'll be surprised how interested they are in being with you and like helping you in the kitchen and doing that stuff. So if you always bake cookies together, then just either find another treat that's like, you know, better choice ingredients and make those together, or make a fruit salad and let them help you cut it up, or make the fruit skewers where they can line up all the blueberries and strawberries on the kebab or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like Pinterest. In the world of Pinterest, we have absolutely zero excuse to not be creative with healthy food, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And one thing, when I did get started and I asked for my husband's support, I did say, you know, I don't care if you eat it, that's fine, but can you please just not bring certain items home anymore?
Yeah.
And he respected that, which was awesome. So
Yeah.
that was where it was like, no judgment on my part. You do you, I do me, but let's just kind of respect the space.
Yeah, because I mean, you're both adults and you both have different goals and things that are important to you, but you shouldn't have to sacrifice yours just because they don't want to do it, and vice versa, you know?
Right. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try and get to the next thought that I wanted. Here we go.
It's there. Yeah.
Okay. I love this quote, and I shared it in our training. It's in our training for 5-star in one of the videos, and it's also in our ebook, the orientation ebook. But I wanted to go a little bit deeper with it. But so it says, it's from Zig Ziglar. He says, your input determines your outlook determines your output, and your output determines your future. So when we're talking about environment and being, you know, more conscious about our environment, that includes all input. And part of this, what I wanted to talk about, that he talked about in the book, was Benjamin Hardy then goes on to say, he says, better inputs lead to better thinking and ultimately better outputs. Garbage in, garbage out. And this is where we need to be really careful about like what we're reading, who we're following on social media, who we're listening to. Those are all inputs. And I know for me, it's been extremely helpful as far as inputs go to not get on social media. I've made it super hard for myself to check social media until I have, you know, done my morning essentials, which is like read something positive, something from my scriptures, pray, and make my bed. Like those are my morning essentials, and then I'll get on social media. I actually created a habit contract. Tammy knows, she's on the call. I think it was for almost 6 weeks. And I noticed during that time, because I had a lot going on and kids were home and whatnot, I didn't get on social media a lot because I had made that deal with myself that I won't get on social media until after I've done those things. So I've just noticed for me that when I do those things, my outlook, my output, everything is much better. Um, when I'm choosing my influences. Brittany, did you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, one fun challenge that I want you guys to try is instead of hopping on Instagram, get on Pinterest. And it's interesting because Pinterest creates ideas and helps you get excited about being creative. Whereas Instagram, a lot of the time we fall into that quick comparison trap and it like sucks our energy and is a little bit more negative. Not always, but I think we can all be honest with ourselves and just say, yeah, lots of times it's a negative space and we kind of mindlessly scroll. Whereas Pinterest, I would just encourage you, like next time you just want to pop in and mindlessly scroll, go to Pinterest and type in something that is exciting to you, right? Like for me, chicken coops, like I'm going to build a chicken coop. So I put in chicken coop and then my ideas, my mind, I'm using my brain, right? Instead of mindlessly scrolling on Instagram. And then you guys know when we progress at something, we're happier, right? Progress equals happiness. If you can get ideas and get those going, like that always brings positive energy for people. So that would just be my challenge for you guys the rest of this week is instead of mindlessly scrolling, hop on and research something. Doesn't have to be Pinterest, but go research something that's interesting to you, or, like learn, take in actual information, or, get creative instead of just mindlessly numbing your emotions, right? With social media, because it can be that way.
Mm-hmm. I actually love that you shared Pinterest. I haven't been on Pinterest forever, but the fact that it does get your creativity flowing, that is super helpful. I know I did that in the beginning as far as recipes go.
Yeah.
I worked with another food blogger who just really helped me think outside of the box. Like, okay, here's what I can have. What can I create with it versus the cannot have mindset.
Yeah.
Okay, Scarlett.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Throw a healthy food party for your neighborhood. Make everyone, come up with a healthy side dish. I don't know. I mean, be different, that's the one thing I just want to say, like, do something different. 96% of people are like unhappy, unhealthy, and not going anywhere in their life. So just, you guys are part of a select, few people who are taking initiative to better yourself. And so people look up to you and they're inspired by you. So don't be afraid to step outside of the box and just do you and be a little different. And you never know where that leads, right? So
yeah, I like that. I even recently I've challenged myself to, I guess, post more uplifting information. So I posted about a hike recently. You guys may have seen it if you follow me on Facebook. And I just invited people who hike to invite me on a hike, which is actually that comes from Willpower Doesn't Work. It's probably in Atomic Habits where you're like searching out for people who will support you in your current goal, inviting them to support you. And so I did that. And I heard from people I haven't heard from forever. And I'm like, that's kind of cool that, if I was in Idaho, I could get a hold of so-and-so and go on a hike. And then I had someone locally that said, hey, let's go hiking. I'm not in very good shape, but I'd love to join you. So anyway, things like that are kind of fun and a good way to stay on your health journey. Okay, so Scarlett said, I deleted things on my phone that haven't been good, social media, TV, movie apps. Social media is only on my computer, which is harder for me to get to. Yes, Pinterest, great advice. I'm going to do that. Yeah, if you want to break a habit, you make it harder to do. If you want to create a habit, you make it easier to do. So I love that you did that, Scarlett. Okay. I'm gonna go to the next slide here. Okay, I just wanted to remind everyone because I think we get into reactive mode a lot. But something I loved in this book that he said is as human beings, we have a unique characteristic held by no other species on the planet. People have the ability not only to think about our own future, but to have countless potential scenarios for our future. Additionally, humans are able to contemplate deeply on our potential prospects. And this really is so cool to think about that we can be in creation mode versus just being in reactive mode. And this thought led me to this final thing that I wanted to talk about. I'm just looking at time here real quick. Okay, this quote comes from, and I'm actually going to give a little bit of a little preview before I share the quote. So this comes from the chapter, page 26. And Benjamin Hardy says, "We live in a social media world designed to subconsciously influence and direct people's behaviors, desires, identities, and interests. Cultivating awareness of the impact of your external environment on your internal goals allows you to be mindful of when you're triggered in a certain direction and consciously choose to realign with your future self." So within this community and within, 5-star transformation, we're consciously improving our health and just improving, what our nutrition and our mind, body, spirit. So this next part that I wanted to share, it comes from Viktor Frankl. Oh shoot, I spelled his name wrong. Anyway, he's a psychologist who is a survivor from the concentration camps. And he wrote Man's Search for Meaning. I know Brittany talked about him last week, but it was interesting. I'm just going to recap real quick in case you weren't on that call and haven't had a chance to listen to it. Basically, he is a psychologist and he'd written a book. He'd started writing a book. He had the manuscript. And when he was put in the concentration camp, that was taken from him and destroyed. So he already had on his mind, what he'd been thinking about as far as psychology goes. And he knew that once he got out of the concentration camp, he was going to rewrite that book. And that book is called Man's Search for Meaning. So this was a quote shared in this chapter and from him, and it says, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom." And this totally stuck out to me as far as reminding ourselves that we do have the power to choose. There's so many times that we are in a difficult situation where maybe we packed our food, we forgot to bring it, or we're in a social setting and they have our favorite dessert there. We just need to remind ourselves that we have a space, there's space in between that stimulus or that trigger and our response. And so we just need to remind ourselves that, okay, I have choices. I can dig deep and look to my environment, and I'm a human being. My brain is capable of finding alternatives. And then within that, that's where our growth and our freedom lies. And I love that he brought up the word freedom, just because when we are free from food addictions, we are in the space where we feel free. So this is kind of where I wanted to wrap up and talk about that space that we have, that time from the stimulus to the response, and just that power of choice that we have, what we can actually do. I've written down a few things that clients have told me that they've done in order to come out on top and stick with their goal to stay sugar, flour free, processed food free, and get the results that they want and be consistent. So I would love, it's so much more interesting when people are willing to share. Is there someone that has a specific situation that they want to celebrate where they had that space, they had that time, and they chose the response that was in alignment with their desired future self? I'm seeing who's on the call that I can call on.
I'll share if you
Okay,
want.
Tammy, I'd love to have you share.
Yeah, so what and it's been a while ago because I haven't been doing very well lately, but
You're here.
when I'm here, and that's good. Yes. When I've really been doing well, what I think of is you sometimes have a desire to have something you shouldn't have. And so I will set a timer for 30 minutes. And if by the end of that 30 minutes I still have that desire, then, and after texting my coach and all of those other accountabilities, but I give myself that time, usually within a 30-minute time frame, that desire will pass. And so then I'm able to make it work. And like, because I treat my headaches with a Coke, and if I have a severe headache, I'll set a timer for 30 minutes and think, okay, I'll take a drink of water, take an aspirin. And if my headache passes in 30 minutes, I'm not going to have the Coke. So sometimes that will help me. And I always have the power to choose whether or not I do that. But that's one thing I do in that interim time.
Yeah, I love that. And I know Tammy has her failure planning all set out. And I'm glad that you brought up the fact that you'll reach out to your coach, you know, like a quick text, that social connection, because we did talk about the power of influence as far as like our social interactions and our social circle, how powerful that is when you stop and you reach out to someone who's going to help hold you accountable. And I forget the quote that they said in here, but basically, and I'm going to find it. Let me see. If you're around people with high expectations, you'll rise to those standards. So if you are holding yourself accountable to someone who's holding you to higher standards than the social norm, which is all the foods that, you know, don't really serve our health, how powerful that can be. I know I've done that like several times, like reached out to someone and just say, hey, this is really hard for me right now, but I'm committed to not eating sugar or flour, and I'm going to check back in later. And that's what helps get me through that moment. I'm going to share a couple other things, unless we have someone willing to share real quick. Kelly's on here. I see you, Kelly. I don't know if you're in a place where your cute 3-year-old boy is quiet, but
well, he's away from me now. I'm in the car. I had to get off for a minute. I had a little crisis with one of my kids, but I'm fine now and back on. So
are you sure? Are you good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So do you mind sharing like what you do in the space where you've been triggered? There's that stimulus, but you have that time to respond as far as coping. What has worked for you? Because I want to celebrate real quick. Since Kelly started, I think she's down almost 30 pounds, right?
Yes.
So obviously you're doing things that are working and that are helping you. So what are some things that have been helpful to you as far as coping to help you get through those moments?
Well, I work with a life coach. I'm dealing with a lot of grief over the last year and a half after losing my husband, and the first year was kind of just making sure my kiddos were taken care of first. And around Christmas time, I guess last year, I was starting to just have immense physical pain, which I sure was part depression, a lot was inflammation on body and whatnot. And so I started things with just realizing that I wasn't myself, and I needed to deal with the trauma and stuff of losing my husband in a better way, because it was me going through things and not my kids now. And so I decided to get with a life coach, and then I also went and saw a counselor that really helped me. And then just working with Katie. Katie's my sister-in-law, and she's sorry, I'm gonna get emotional, Katie. You probably didn't want to ask me. But she's more than a sister-in-law to me, and she's just someone I look up to and someone I can confide in. And so just since the beginning of the year, just kind of learning how to just sit with my emotions and feel them, and that's okay for me to feel them. And I know the things, like if I get on Facebook and go down a rabbit hole of political garbage, I tend to go in dark spaces or places. And so I know that I can't do that. And I just try to work hard at filling my cup of, I know that a medicine for me is going to the gym and, working out and getting a good weight session in. And then I love, my spiritual time for me is I go sit in the sauna for about 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and I do some personal reading and just self-reflection, because I'm always in there by myself. And I walk, and then I'll stretch, and I walk out, and I just feel, I don't know, like I just feel so clear and things like that. And I definitely have my ebbs and flows of times when it's hard and times when it's not so hard and stuff. But I think just trying to find those triggers of what I know is not good for me and what puts me in a dark place, that I can't let that in. And so for me, it's just bringing the light back in and surrounding myself with positivity, good books, good music, good people. Just don't delve into the negative, I guess, is basically what helps me. So
Thank you, Kelly, for being willing to share. I really appreciate it. I've completely been inspired with the way that you've handled this huge challenge in your life. And everything that you mentioned was actually on my list of things, but I am really glad that you shared that you've been working with a life coach and also a counselor, because I feel like a lot of the reasons that we numb out to food is because of emotions. And so props to you for addressing it and reaching out to those that can help you and help you work through those really, really hard emotions. Anyway, it's been awesome to watch your progress this last year.
well, I think also that and this isn't trying to put a plug in for everyone go get life coaching, but the thing that I think is big is just when you can feel your emotions and realize why it is that you're feeling a certain way, and then there's just something about knowing how to be in tune with your body and what your body is telling you. And so lately I've again kind of had a flare up with some inflammation again. And so I know it's not what I want to feel. And even though I've been off sugar for a long time and other things, there's obviously something else going on with my body. And so I've reached out to a doctor that I'm going to be meeting up with and things like that. But I will say that the life coaching has probably helped me the most in the regard of changing my thoughts and my behaviors around my thoughts. And And that in turn has also helped me to become more aware of what my body is feeling and what my body is telling me, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, I know that you've gotten really good at asking yourself questions.
Yes.
And getting to the like, why am I doing what I'm doing? As far as, you know, if we're putting it into perspective of our nutrition and what we're eating, it's like, why am I doing that? Like just getting really clear, and with you addressing your emotions has obviously benefited you
Yes.
with that. Yeah, I think it's awesome I mean, Brittany will agree with me, like we'll straight up say we're not specialists as far as like being a licensed clinical social worker or I know there's the life coach that you're seeing, she's amazing. She's one of my friends too. I mean, this is a holistic approach. And so if addressing that is what you need, then for sure do it. And if anyone, wants a referral as far as that goes, we're more than happy to give a referral. Brittany, did you have thoughts that you wanted to share? Oh, shoot. Can you guys hear me? Uh-oh. I hope.
I can hear you.
Okay. I was like, I think I might have disconnected. Brittany.
And I do feel like can you hear me?
Now I can. Maybe it was you that was cutting out and not me.
Oh, maybe.
Okay, I can hear you.
Okay. I was just going to say real quick, I think the further away that we get from true health, like the way that God intended our bodies to work and what we're putting in our body, I think it does become harder and harder for us to really be in tune with what our body needs. And so if that speaks to you, like that's just another motivation to clean up the inputs in your life. Because when you do that, you have a lot more mental clarity and you have a lot more of this ability, like Kelly's talking about, to sit with your feelings and like identify what you need. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just that clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. We're getting close to the hour. Any last thoughts, Brittany, before we wrap up?
No. I am just happy to be surrounded by all of you wonderful people. It helps you guys are my input, so that is helpful for me too. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I actually had that thought today as far as inputs go in social circle. Like there's so many times where I need this as much as anyone else. Like I really do look forward to these calls. I look forward to learning from others. Hearing people's positive stories really motivates me. That's been my story as far as like I've been able to get the weight off in the past, but it's actually, staying in my right size body. And so I know for me that being surrounded by others who are striving to improve their health and be in their right size body, that helps me to stay in my right size body. So thank you for that. I'm just going to check the chat here real quick. Scarlett says, thank you ladies for sharing in this call. It was great. Thanks, Scarlett, for being on. Okay, so we will have another momentum call in a couple of weeks. Again, we're going to keep it to the first and third Tuesday of every month, 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Savings Time, Mountain Time. So you guys can put that on your calendar. If you have any questions, if there was something that spoke to you during the call, make sure that you reach out to one of your coaches, and we want to help you. Like we want to see you succeed and we want you to feel better. So we're just really glad that you were on the call tonight and that you're listening to the recording if you're listening to the recording. So everyone have a great night.
Thank you.
You guys.
Thank you.